Hari Om. Namaste everyone. So here to continue with my class, I'm Dr. Shilpi Shrisi, Assistant Professor, Department of Faculty of Ancient Sciences, RPM Institute of Indigenous Science and Research, Bengaluru, Assistant Professor, Department of Kaya Chikitsa, Atreya Ayurvedic Medical College, Hospital and Research Center, Doddaballapura. So last class we were studying, till now we have studied regarding the Saptadhatus, three malas, dhatu malas, and we were studying regarding the functions of the Saptadhatus, where we had ended with this studying of the Hasti Dhatu in the last class. So the Majja Dhatu, the main function of Majja Dhatu, as we have discussed before, it is to do the Purana. And there the word Purana refers to Asti Purana. That is, it is the one which is filling up the Hasti Dhatu. And now to continue with the next upcoming Dhatu after the Majja Dhatu, it is nothing but the Shukra Dhatu. So today we'll be starting from the Shukra Dhatu. So now to study about Shuddha Shukra Dhatu Lakshana. It is stated as Spatikabham Dravam Snigdham Madhuram Madhugandhicha Shukram Ichanti Kechittu Tailakshaudra Nibham Tatha. I repeat, Spatikabham Dravam Snigdham Madhuram Madhugandhicha Shukram Ichanti Kechittu Tailakshaudra Nibham Tatha. Here they have given us how how to identify the Shukra Dhatu. That is based on certain appearance, based on the smell, and based on the taste of it. We would be able to identify that okay, what we are saying is the Shukra Dhatu. So that identical features have been mentioned here, and also they have given certain similes, that is to what we can compare and understand the features of Shukra Dhatu. That has been explained here. And here is the meaning of the terms of Spatikabham, Dravam, Snigdham. Spatika refers to crystal jelly-like, and Drava refers to liquidity. Snigdha refers to unctuous. Madhura means sweet taste, because we have already studied that there are Shad Rasas, 6 tastes, and among that the first taste is Madhura, that is nothing but sweet taste. Madhu Gandhi, Gandha is the term meaning smell, and here the smell of that is said that it is Madhu Gandhi, that is it is sweetish in smell also. And Shukram, as we have already studied, they are the reproductive tissues which can be compared to sperm or semen. And if you see the features of this shloka that has been mentioned here, it is all compared to that of the semen features. Clear? And so when we do the Anvayakrama of the shloka, it goes as Spatikabham Dravam Snigdham Madhuram Madhugandhicha Tatha Kechittu Tailakshaudranibham Shukram Ichanti. That is, here they are explaining that a pure and healthy shukra or semen appearance is similar to that of crystalline jelly. Okay, that is, it will be very unctuous, crystalline, like jelly, when you touch that. And consistency is oil and honey. If you lift the honey and then if you see the viscosity of that oil and the honey, similar will be to that of, it would be similar to that of the semen. And the order is, they have stated that it is Madhugandhi, that is the smell of the honey will be there of that of the semen, and taste will be Madhura, that is sweet. So in this shloka we can understand the appearance, consistency, order and taste of the Shukra Dhatu. And why it is important to know this is, when this reproductive tissue is healthy, it keeps the men's fertility healthy. And a pure and healthy shukra or semen should be having this crystalline jelly-like appearance and order of honey, and it is sweet in taste, and it should be appearing like the oil and honey also in the consistency. I hope this is understood. So here they are describing the features of the shukra or semen. And next, moving on to next shloka, that is Shuddha Arthava Lakshana. And we already know that Arthava is referring to menstrual fluid. So here again they are telling us to what it would be simulated to. That is, how will you, last class also we have studied regarding this, and now they are just telling us to how to identify that the Arthava that we are seeing is Shuddha. So for that, they have explained that Shasha Asit Pratimam Yattu Yadva Lakshara Sophamam Tadarthavam Prashamsanti yadvaso na viranjayet. I repeat, shashasrik pratimam yattu yadva laksha rasopamam tadartavam prashamsanti yadvaso na viranjayet. So here the meaning is Shasha refers to rabbit and Asrik is referring to Rakta. That is nothing but rabbit's blood, and Pratimam refers to it is similar or identical. And then Laksha is the term which refers to lack, and Rasa means fluid. Upama is the term referring to similarity. Tat. So Artavam. Artava also refers to blood, and here it is mainly referring to menstrual blood. So it is something Prashamsanti means it is greatly known for. And here another important term is Vaso. That is Vasa is the term referring to cloth. Na, wherever you come across the letter Na, it is referring to no or not. And Viranjayet. Ranjana refers to coloring. Clear? So Viranjayet is also referring to coloring here. When you do the Anvayakrama of the shloka, it goes as Yat Shashasrik Pratimam Yat Laksharasopamam Va Yat Vaso Na Viranjayet Tat Artavam Prashamsanti. I repeat, Yat Shashasrik Pratimam Yat Laksharasopamam Va Yat Vaso Na Viranjayet Tat Artavam Prashamsanti. That is, Yat Shasha Asrik Pratimam refers to, it is something which is similar or resembling to that of rabbit's blood. And yet Laksharasopamam, and it is also simulating to the color of Laksharasa, which is also reddish in color. And Vaso na Viranjayet, that is, it doesn't stain the cloth. It is stated as it doesn't stain the cloth after washing with water. Tat Artavam Prashamsanti. That is what is known as Artavam. So three features that we have to remember here is to state that the Artava is pure or Shuddha and it is healthy, it should be resembling to that of rabbit blood or Laksharasa, that is lac juice, and it should not stain the cloth after washing with water. That is, if there is any staining of the menstrual blood to the cloth, once you wash with rinse in the water, then all that blood should get vanished, right? Instead, if it is still if the stain is still remaining on the cloth, it shows that menstrual blood is not pure or it is not healthy. There is some defect in that menstrual fluid. Clear? So it is very important to identify whether, this shloka tells us to how to identify that the Artava is Shuddha. And this shloka is stated in the heading of Adushta Artava Lakshana. That is, Adushta refers to the Artava which is not undergone vitiation. And why this is important is when this reproductive tissue is healthy, it keeps the woman's fertility healthy. As we had studied for Shukradhatu, when the Shukradhatu is healthy, men's fertility or the fertility would be healthy. When this Artava is healthy, then the women's fertility will be healthy. So the applicability of this Shuddha Shukradhatu and Shuddha Artava is, it is nothing but it is helpful for the formation of healthy garbha or healthy reproduction. I hope in the introductory classes we had studied regarding the definition of garbha, not in the Sharira Kriya introductory class. As such, the introductory class of Ayush Samskritam, we have studied the definition of garbha, where they had already said regarding the Shuddha Shukra and Shuddha Artava will be involved in the formation of garbha or the fetus, right? So when this Shuddha Shukradhatu and Shuddha Artava are present, then there would be healthy reproduction taking place. So that is the main applicability of the shloka. And next, moving on to Ashraya Ashrayi Bhava. This is one of the important concept of Ayurveda, where they are telling us regarding the relation or the mutual interdependence of the dosha, dhatu, upadhatu, and mala. Basically, they are telling us the interdependence of the dosha and dhatu here. So, what the term ashraya refers to is, ashraya refers to location, okay, or the residence, and ashrayi refers to the one which is residing. I hope this is understood. That is, for an example, if I have to say ashraya, if you take the hostel, that is ashraya. If you're staying in an hostel, hostel is the ashraya. And who is staying there? You students are staying there. You are the ashrayi. The one who is staying is ashrayi, and where you are staying is the ashraya. Clear? So that is the relation between you and the hostel, right? You are residing there. In the similar way, they have told us certain relation between the dosha and dhatus. I hope you are aware of the doshas which you have already learned in Sharira Kriya. Mainly there are three doshas, that is vata dosha, pitta dosha and kapha dosha. And here there are seven dhatus, right? They are telling us the relation between those three doshas and the sapta dhatus. And the shloka goes as tatrasthani sthito vayuhu pittam tu svedaraktayuhu shleshma shesheshu तेनैषाम् आश्रयाश्रयीणां मितः यदेकस्य तदन्यस्य वर्धनाक्षपणौषधम् अस्ति मारुतयोर्नैवं प्रायो वृद्धिर्हि तर्पणात्. I repeat, तत्रास्थनी स्थितो वायुः पित्तं तु स्वेदरक्तयोः श्लेष्माशेषेषु तेनेषाम् आश्रयाश्रयीणां मितः यदेकस्य तदन्यस्य वर्धनाक्षपणौषधम् अस्ति मारुतयोर्नैवं प्रायो वृद्धिर्हि tarpanat. So here I have already mentioned each word meaning here, but certain words which you have to know for time being is tatrastani. Astani there is referring to asti dhatu. Sthito refers to one which is residing, right? Located. That is vata is located in asti dhatu. Pittam tu sweda raktayoho. That is pitta dosha is located in the sweda and rakta. Rakta dhatu and sweda. Sweda is the mala of which dhatu? Sweda is the mala of medo dhatu. So it is also one among the three mala also, right? So this pitta is located in that sweda and rakta. Shleshma shesheshu. Shleshma is referring to kapha dosha. Clear? So this shleshma shesheshu. Shesheshu refers to remaining. And what is that remaining here is, here if you come across vata, I mean hasti dhatu we have come across, and the rakta dhatu we have come across among the sapta dhatus. So two dhatus are done. So the remaining are the five dhatus, and in that remaining five dhatus, this shleshma or kapha dosha is located. Clear? So if you see here, the three doshas are the one which are residing, that is ashrayi, and where they are residing? Inside the dhatus. So dhatus are the ashraya and these doshas are the ashrayis. Tenesham ashraya ashrayinam mitaha. That is, this is the ashraya and ashrayi. Yadekasya tadanyasya vardhanakshapanaushadam. Yad ekasya. Ekasya refers to one. Tad anyasya. That is the other. That is, one is dependent on the other in the form of vardhana. Vardhana refers to increasing. Kshapana refers to decreasing. And then aushada means provide. As such, the word meaning of aushada is medicine. And here in the form of treatment, it is very applicable to understand this concept. So why they have told about the vardhana kshapana aushadam asti marutayor naivam. That is, when there is a relation that like when they talk about the relation, they tell that if you are increasing one, then there would be increasing of the other. That is, if there is increase of the pitta dhatu, then in turn it would be resulting in the increase of rakta dhatu and the sweda. If you are increasing the kapha dhatu, then it would be increasing the rasa dhatu, mamsa dhatu, medo dhatu in that way. Okay, or if there is decreasing of one dosha, then there would be decrease of the dhatu. Or in turn, in the other way also, if there is decreasing of the dhatu, in turn there would be decrease of the dosha related to that. But the exception of this rule, what I'm telling is, there is direct, this dosha and dhatu are directly proportional. The only one which is not directly proportional is asti and vata dosha. That is, if there is increase in vata dosha, there will be decrease in asti dhatu. That is, they're indirectly proportional. Prayo vridhirhi tarpanat. Vridhi also refers to increase and tarpana refers to nourishes. So if you do the anvayakrama of the shloka, it goes as tatra astini vayuhu stitaha. That is, there in the hasti, vata is located. Pittam sweda raktayoho. That is, Pitta is located in Sweda and Rakta. Shleshma tu Shesheshu Dhatushu Sthitaha iti. That is, Shesha is referring to remaining Dhatus. That is, Kapha is located in the other Dhatus. So, what are those other Dhatus? The 5 Dhatus. That is, Rasadhatu, Mamsadhatu, Medodhatu, Majjadhatu, and Shukradhatu. In this, Kapha is located. Tena esham ashraya ashrayina mitaha. This is what is termed as ashraya and ashrayi. Yat ekasya vardhanakshapanaaushadam bhavati tat anyasya ashrayinaha api. That is, if medicine given is to aggravate or elevate one dosha, the respective related dhatu also undergoes aggravation or elevation. That is, they are directly proportional. In the other way to talk about this, if you are giving certain medication to increase the rasadhatu, then there would be increase of kapha dosha also, because kapha dosha and rasadhatu are related to each other. So they're directly proportional. If you're increasing one, the other will automatically increase. That is what is stated there. Asti marutayoho na evam syat prayaha tarpanat vriddhihi bhavati. That is, except in asti and vata, that is, they're inversely proportional. So vata kshaya, if there is reduction in the vata dosha, then it would be resulting in tarpana of the asti dhatu. That is, it would be nourishing the asti dhatu. So if you want to increase the asti dhatu, bone tissue in our body, there should be less vata inside the body. In that way, okay, it is not that they're telling about the quantity or anything like that. It is the relation. So when you are prescribing certain medications, you have to look after the both dosha and dhatu, and then only and assess the patient's strength and the disease strength, and then only be providing the medication. So for that, you should just keep in mind that, okay, if you are giving certain medications which are pitta kara, then in turn it would be related to rakta dhatu and sweda dhatu. If you are giving certain medications in relation to vata dosha, to decrease vata dosha, in the other way it would be increasing the hasti dhatu. Clear? So this is something that you have to keep in mind. And so the relation is as such that vata dosha is actually related to hasti dhatu, but it is not directly related to hasti dhatu, it is inversely related to hasti dhatu. Pitta dosha is directly related to rakta dhatu and swedha mala, and kapha dosha is directly related to rasa, mamsa, meda, majja dhatu. And next, moving on to application of Ashraya Ashrayi Bhava, that is why we have to know regarding this Ashraya Ashrayi Bhava. This is very important to plan the treatment. It is very important while planning the treatment, and it is helpful to understand functioning of the body. That is, the mutual relation of the Tridosha and the Saptadhatu is very well explained here. And understand the pathology, that is, the diseases can be understood by this. Why? Because if, see, in not just during the treatment, even while assessing the pathology, that is how this disease is occurring, okay, that form of occurrence of the disease, for that also it is very helpful to understand this relation between dosha and dhatu. In what way? If you ask me, if there is any disturbance in the vata dosha, then automatically we can understand that it would be affecting the asti dhatu in our body. Why? Because vata dosha is directly related to hasti dhatu, right? Like inversely related. So you can understand that if there is vata vriddhi, then it would be resulting into asti dhatu kshaya. If there is vata kshaya, then it would be resulting into asti dhatu vriddhi, in that way. Or in the other way, if there is if you are eating something out and if there is some vitiation of the pitta dosha that is happening in our body, then it would be directly affecting the rakta dhatu in our body or the sweda dhatu in our body. Clear? Even so, that is how the pathology will also be happening in our body, and in turn there will be certain clinical features noticed, and we can assess the prognosis also. That is whether the disease that the person would be suffering with is curable or incurable. That can also be assessed based on the understanding of this Ashraya Ashrayi, because we say that the first few dhatus, that is rasa, rakta, mamsa, they are all called to be the uttara dhatus. Clear? And from the Medo dhatu, they are termed as Gambhira dhatus, that is deep-seated dhatus. So whenever these both superficial dhatus and the gambhira, deep-seated dhatus are involved in causing certain disease. They're termed that they're in general, it is difficult to cure that sort of diseases. So in that way, it is very important to understand the prognosis of the disease, and it would also be helpful to understand the diagnosis of the disease. And in turn, overall, the main purpose of understanding all this concept is to treat the condition, right? So in overall, it would be helpful for treatment of the disease. And next, moving, so this ends the concept of dhatu and mala as such. Clear? So now, so I would like to conclude that part of dhatu and mala by telling you regarding the importance of why this dhatu mala are important. That is applicability of dhatu and mala. So for this applicability of dhatu and mala, it is just not dhatu and mala actually to tell about. It is in regards to dosha, dhatu and mala. That is, this dosha, dhatu and mala are considered to be the moola of sharira. It is stated as dosha, dhatu, mala, moolam hi shariram. That is, the three basic roots of the body is dosha, dhatu and mala. And they have given a comparison or the upamana simile to that of the tree. Though the tree is having its roots, trunk, branches, the main important part of the tree is moola, that is the root. If there is destruction of the root, the whole body or the trunk, branches, everything will get destroyed, right? Similarly, for a body, that root is nothing but these dosha, dhatu, mala. The moola of the tree is being compared to dosha, dhatu and mala, and that body, the trunk part of the tree is being compared to the sharira. So just like how these root is managing the whole tree, in the similar way, these healthy status of the dosha, dhatu and mala are maintaining the whole body. So why it is very important to understand the functions of each dhatu, functions of each mala, and we should note that that function is being carried out well in our body in a healthy status. And once they undergo any abnormality, then there would be lot many diseases that would be happening. So this is one simple comparison that they have given to understand the importance of knowing about this dosha, dhatu and mala. And next, moving on to shroto moola. And here, two important terms are there, that is shroto and moola. Shroto is referring to shrotas, and I hope you have already studied regarding the shrotas in paper 1. That is, shrotas, it is actually derived from the root word shru, which means gati, gatau, that is movement or meaning, moving or flowing. And it is defined as sravanat srotamsi. That is, it means structure through which certain flow or sravana occurs. Right? That is, if you take an example of the pipe can also be considered as a srotas, because inside that there is the flow of the fluid, right? The water is flowing inside the pipe, so that pipe can be considered as srotas. Similarly, in our body also there are lot many srotas present, and so why our whole body is also termed as srotomayam ayam hi purusham. That is, the living body is channel system. Okay, the whole body is made up of this srotas only, because many channels are present in our body, and these are channels of circulation which carries the dhatus undergoing transformation to their destination. If you see, we have studied regarding the dhatu parinama, that is the metabolism of the dhatus from rasa to rakta, rakta to mamsa, in that way. So for that, the dhatus have to flow in their own srotas and then only be reaching the destination to do the nourishment of that particular dhatu, right? Whatever the food we are consuming is consumed also, even that has to pass through certain structure in our body, and that structure is nothing but the srotas itself. That is, they are the channels through which the conduction of the respective nutrients to their respective destination is possible. For this, it is very important to understand the srotas. And the moola, as I said before, moola refers to root, and each srotas has got like two important entities or organs, and they are considered to be the moolasthana. And why it is important to know about this moolasthana is because if there is any defect in that moolasthana, then the whole srotas will be affected. If I have to tell you, see, from the simple way is, from tap will take, okay, from the tap water comes, yes, there are other origin also for how this tap is getting water in the other way. From the motor system, everything should be correct, right? Similarly, from the tap, the pipe will be connected, and then if there is any defect in the tap, if there is any obstruction taking place in the tap, then the srotas will not be getting the actual amount of whatever the nutrient had, the water has to be passed through the pipe. And then if there is no proper a flow of water, then the whatever the field was there to be irrigated, right, that will not get irrigated well, and all the plants will die. Similarly, if there is any defect in the moola, the srotomulas, from where the origin or the storage is there, then that srotas, the nutrients will not be passed through that channels properly, and the destination area, that is the cells and the tissues that are present in our body, they'll not get nourished properly and they'll die. Okay, so to nourish that area, it is very important that this srotas should be healthy, and in turn, for that srotas to be healthy, their srotomula should be healthy. And this srotomula, what are these srotomulas? Would be the next question that comes to our mind, right? They're nothing but the prabhavasthana. And this prabhavasthana, how to understand is, they can be the seat of origin. That is nothing but, we have studied regarding lot sapta dhatus. So each dhatu have got their seat of origin. There are certain origin area, from as such from the food only these dhatus are getting formed, but still there are certain areas which are mentioned to be the seat of origin. That is why they have mentioned that specifically is, if they undergo any abnormality, then that particular dhatu will also be abnormal. To understand this, they have mentioned regarding the srotomulas, which are referring to seat of origin, that is the udbhavasthana, or they can also be considered as the seat of storage, that is where these the content of the nutrients will go and get stored. That they are also considered to be the srotomulas, and srotomulas are also referring to seat of carriage or seat of conduction, that is through which certain things have been carried, right? Can be the nutrients, or can be the malas also. Because see, annavaha, pranavaha, udakavaha. If you see, the main three elements for us to sustain is air, food, and water. That is nothing but anna, udaka, and prana. Right? So these three are also having their own srotas. And next is regarding the sapta dhatus. Rasa, rakta, mamsa, medha, asti, majja, shukra. These seven are also having their srotomulas. And then three malas, that is Purishavaha srotas, and Mutravaha Srotas and Svedavaha Srotas. And then additionally, Shishrutacharya mentions regarding the Artavavaha Srotas, that is the one which is carrying the menstrual fluid. So whatever we have studied till now, that should be carried through certain channels in our body, because the whole body is made up of channels, right? And that what is being carried, through what it is being carried, is nothing but the Shrotas. Okay, but there should be some place where that is being originated, or where it is being stored, or through which it is being carried, that are considered to be the Shrotomulas. And now moving on to what are those Shrotomulas. Before that, I would like to tell you regarding that there are mainly two types of shrot. Actually, there are innumerable number of shrotas, okay, if you have to really count. But in a gross way, they have explained regarding mainly two types, that is Bahirmukha Srotas and Antarmukha Srotas. And this Bahirmukha Srotas is already being dealt by Dr. Varni ma'am in Sharira Kriya paper 1. So here to brief about, they have just explained regarding the external opening of the body, right? Like the ear, eyes, mouth, nose, anus, and penis. And in stree, there are three additional areas, where that is nothing but the breast nipples and the vaginal opening. And the next will be moving on to the Antarmukha Shrotas, and this Antarmukha Shrotas are 13 in number, 1 3. Okay, and they are nothing but, as I said before, the Annavaha, Udakavaha, Pranavaha, which has already been dealt in Varni ma'am's class. And now I'll be taking the Shrotomulas from Dhatu wise, that is Rasa, Rakta, Mamsa, Medha, and then the three malas. Shrotomulas will be dealt in this present class. And now moving on to Rasavaha Shrotas. The Shrotomulas set for Rasavaha Shrotas is Rasavahanam Shrotasam Hridayam Moolam Dasha Cha Damanyaha. I repeat, Rasavahanam Shrotasam Hridayam Moolam Dasha Cha Damanyaha. That is Rasa Vahanam. Vahanam means the channels carrying. So what are those channels carrying? They're carrying the rasa dhatu. Clear? That is nothing but rasa is referring to fluid here, as we have already studied regarding the rasa dhatu in detail. Srotas is referring to the channel as such. Clear? Srotas is the channel, and to tell that what is being carried in that channel, they're using the word vahanam. Clear? That is the path through which that is being carried. To describe that, the rasa vahanam is being mentioned. And what are the main two moolas of this rasavaha srotas is hridaya. Hridaya refers to heart, moola is origin or the root, and dasha refers to 10. Dasha refers to 10. Damanyaha refers to damanis. That is nothing but the arteries. So the moola of rasavaha srotas is stated as heart and large arteries. If you see the picture here, there is heart and there are major arteries which are coming out, or there are certain veins which are supplying the heart, right? It is mainly referring to the arteries. That is once here mainly they're telling us that seat of storage. Okay, because we have studied that Sroto Mula can be the seat of origin, seat of conduction, right? So here there are the seat of storage, right? There are three meanings for this Mula, and here the Mula that they're talking about is for the Rasavaha Srotas, they're telling that it is the seat of storage. That is, the Rasa Dhatu is being stored in the Hridaya, and they're telling the other Mula as the seat of carriage. That is, the circulation or conduction of the Rasadhatu is taking place in this Dashadamani. That is the arteries. 10 arteries they are describing specifically here. So how to understand this is, Hridaya pumps the blood along with the Rasadhatu throughout the body continuously. So why Rasadhatu is stored in the Hridaya. And then Hridaya performs pumping action of Rasadhatu. After that, Dashadamani transports that Rasadhatu throughout the body. So it is carrying the Rasadhatu throughout the body through certain channels. So Hridaya is considered as the Moolasthana with storage point of view, and Dashadhamani is considered as the Moolasthana as the conduction or the carriage point of view. I hope this is understood. So Sroto Moolas are to be understood in the form of the origin, like in the point of storage point of view, that is the one which is storing up things, or in the origin point of view, or in the form of conduction or carriage point of view. So here the Rasavaha Sroto Moolas are explained in 2 points, that is storage point in the form of Hridaya. That is Rasava Dhatu is stored in the Hridaya, and then in the conduction point of view, that is it is getting circulated throughout the body through those dhamanis. Clear? So in this 2 point of view, the moola has been explained as hridaya and dhamani. Next, moving on to raktavaha srotas. And raktavaha sroto moolas are explained as shonita vahanam srotasam yakran moolam plihacha. I repeat, shonita vahanam srotasam yakran moolam plihacha. Here, shonita is the synonym for rakta, right? So rakta vahanam shrotasam, that is the channels which are carrying the blood. The moola of these channels are yakrit and pliha. Yakrit refers to liver, pliha refers to spleen. Clear? So in that shloka, they're telling us that the moola of Raktavaha Shrotas is liver and spleen. So for this, how to understand that liver and this spleen can be the moolas for Raktavaha Shrotas is, if you have come across the process of hemopoiesis, that is the formation of the blood, or the formation of the blood. If you think it is just not the for the formation of the blood, or the platelets, RBCs, WBCs, for all these formation, the main origin area of all this is from the liver, spleen, and bone marrow itself. Okay, even the Majjadhatu plays a major role here. If you have to, like, if I have to tell you regarding that, so that Raktavaha, so why? Just because the main origin of this blood tissue itself is occurring from the from this liver and spleen, it is considered that the main moola for Raktavaha Shrotas as liver and spleen. So I hope if you like, if there are any science students present here, if you go refer regarding the hemopoiesis procedure, majorly in the fetal life, okay, that is in the fetal life, if you study, they have uh, given in detail, like in the modern text also they accept this, that is in the liver and spleen only this hemopoiesis is occurring. And this 5000 years back itself, our acharyas have explained that the main moola for Raktavaha Srotas is Yakrit and Pliha, that is liver and spleen. And next, moving on to Mamsavaha Srotas, that is the one which is carrying the muscle tissue. So it is explained as Mamsavahanam cha Srotasam Snayur Moolam Tvakcha. That is Mamsavahanam cha Srotasam Snayur Moolam Tvakcha. They have mentioned regarding two main moolas for the Mamsa Dhatu, that is Tvak. Tvak refers to skin, and Snayur Moolam. Snayu refers to the ligaments. Okay, so we have already come across the word Snayu before. I want you to recall where we have come across this Snayu in the Upadhatus as a clue that I have given you. Clear? So the main moola for the Mamsabha Shrutis is Snayu and Tvak. That is the skin and the ligament. So here, in what point of view they have given this skin and ligament as the moola is in the point of storage. Okay, that is snayu is the storage site of mamsa, and tvak layers covers the mamsa dhatu. So both are considered in the form of storage site itself. So considering the storage point of view, this mamsabha srotas moolas are considered to be the snayu and truck. I hope this is now easy to understand. That is, to understand the moolas, we have to keep these three words mainly. That is, the moolas can be whatever the moola that they are mentioning, like hridaya, yakrit, pliha, and all. They are mentioned with certain point of view. That is, considering that from there certain origin is taking place, or they are the areas where the actual dhatus are staying, or they are the areas where that conduction is taking place. Giving these three into consideration, they are considering them as the moolas. So for rasavaha, that is rasa dhatu, the main two moolas are mentioned in the point of seat of storage for the hridaya and the seat of conduction for the dashadamani. Keeping 2 points in view, they have considered these to be the moolas. And for raktavaha, considering the seat of origin, they have considered, because the main production of the this blood cells are happening from the liver and spleen itself. It's not just the production, and the destruction will be happening in the spleen, if you have to talk about, but mainly considering that the origin where it is happening, it is considered to be the main moola, considering the state of origin. And for mamsavaha srotas, they have considered that snayu and tvaka the moolas in the form of site of storage. Okay, so if you see all the three, we have already come across site of origin, site of conduction, site of what is the other one? Site of conduction and the site of storage. All the three we have come across in these three strotas itself, right? So mamsabha strotas, the moolas are tvak and snayu, considering in the form of site of storage. Next is Medovah Srotas. And the Sroto Moolas for the Medovah Srotas is Medovahanam Srotasam Vrikkav Moolam Vapavahanam Cha. Vrikkav means the plural term for Vrikka. Vrikka refers to kidney. So Vrikkav refers to kidneys. And Vapavahana. Vapavahana refers to the omentum. So it is described as Vapa Udharastha Snigdha Vartika. That is, the Snigdha refers to unctuous part, and certain unctuous part which are folded and present in the Udara, that is the abdomen. And that Vapa is actually referring to cloth. Okay, it is something like a cloth which is covering up the Udara and which is very unctuous in nature and which is folded in that way. Okay, and that is nothing but the omentum that is present in our abdomen. So if you see, even that whole omentum is being fat filled. Okay, it is completely the area where this fat is stored. Yes. So, and if you imagine the kidney, there are two glands called the adrenal glands present over the kidney, and these are mainly made up of fat tissue itself. Clear? So, why they have told that this kidney and the omentum to be the main moolas of Medovahasrotas. So, here and so Vrika is related to fat metabolism. So Medo Dhatu Pushti would be happening by this kidneys, and Vapavahanam is the it will be storing the excess fat in the body. So they are the site of origin. So kidney is considered to be the Srotomula of Medas in the point of storage, the site of origin, and omentum is considered to be the Srotomula of Medovahasrotas in the point of storage. Okay, in the storage point of view, omentum is considered to be the moola of Medovahasrotas, and in the what is that? In the origin point of view, this vrika is considered to be the site moola of Medovahasrotas. And next, moving on to Astivahasrotas, and Sroto Moolas for Astivahasrotas is mentioned as Astivahanam Srotasam Medo Moolam Jaganam Cha. I repeat, Astivahanam Srotasam Medo Moolam Jaganam Cha. So the two main moolas for Astivahasrotas are Medo and Jagana. Medo refers to Medo Dhatu, that is the fat tissue, and Jagana refers to legs. Okay, legs or the thigh region or the hip region can be considered as the Jagana. And so here they are telling that Medho Dhatu is the Mula. How can you justify that Medho Dhatu is the Mula of Astivahasrotas? If you remember the Dhatu Parinama Krama, we had already studied that the previous Dhatu will be nourishing the upcoming Dhatu. That is, Rasa will be nourishing the Rakta, Rakta will be nourishing the Mamsa, Mamsa would be nourishing the Medho Dhatu, and Medho Dhatu will be nourishing the Asti Dhatu. So Asti Dhatu is getting nourished from the Medho Dhatu. So why in the form of origin, if you consider Medho Dhatu is getting nourished from the Asti Dhatu is getting nourished from the Medho Dhatu. So why Medho Dhatu is considered to be the Moola for Asti Vahasrotas. That is, in the point of origin for the Asti Dhatu, Medho is considered to be the origin point, like origin. For the origin of Asti, this is very important. So in the origin point of view, Medo is considered to be the Moola for Astivahasrotas. And next, they are telling that hip joint or the hip is considered to be the Moola of Astivahasrotas. So how to understand this is in the form of, diagnostic point of view in the other way. That is, if you imagine in old age, generally fat is very diminished, right? Medo Dhatu would be very less in the old age. They'll be very lean to look. And in turn, more fractures are noticed, primarily starting from the hip bone itself. Yes or no? If you see the old age people, first of all, their Hasti Dhatu would be very less. Why? Because you would have come across few shlokas in the paper one, that is, in the childhood there is kapha dosha more, and in the middle age people pitta dosha would be more, and in the old age people vata dosha would be more. Okay, and just few minutes back we have studied regarding the ashraya ashri bhava, where it is stated that whenever there is vata dosha more, the hasti dhatu would be less, right? So in old age people, vata dosha is more, and in turn their asti dhatu would be very less. That is, there wouldn't be proper nourishment of the bones in the old age people. So when bones are not getting nourished, so the main problem that will occur to bone is they'll get fractured very easily, right? So which is that area which undergoes fracture easily in old age people is nothing but the hip region, right? So considering that, in the diagnostic point of view, if you come across that in old age people hip is getting damaged or fractured, it is understood that, oh, Astivahasrotas is not working well in that person. Clear? So in the diagnostic point of view also we can understand this Sroto Moolas. So in this Astivahasrotas, they have considered the Medho Dhatu as the Moola for Astivahasrotas in the origin point of view, and they have considered the hip region as the Jagana or hip region as the moola of Hastivah Srotas in the diagnostic point of view. Clear? Next is Majjavaha Srotas. And Majjavaha Srotas goes as Majjavahanam Srotasam Asthini Moolam Sandayascha. That is, the two main moolas mentioned for Majjavaha Srotas is Asti and Sandhi. Asti refers to bone tissue and Sandhi refers to joints. And here, if you see, again, it is in the same perspective. That is Dhatu Parinamakara bhavas. That is, previous dhatu would be nourishing the upcoming dhatu. Just like how the asti gets nourished from the medo dhatu, this majja dhatu is getting nourished from the hasti dhatu itself. So why they have considered that bone is the moola for majjavaha srotas. That is, in the point, in the view of origin point, they have considered the hasti as the moola for the majjavaha srotas. And what is the necessity of mentioning joints or the sandhi as the moola for this Majjavaha Srotas is, if you see, Sandhi is something which gets formed by the lower end of one bone and the upper end of the other bone, where yellow bone marrow is present mainly. So, from storage point of view, it is considered as the moola of Majja. Clear? So, Asti is considered to be the moola of Majjavaha Srotas in the origin point of view, and joints are considered to be the moola of Majjavaha Srotas in the storage point of view. Clear? Next is Shukravah Srotas, and Shukravah Srotas goes as Shukravahanam Srotasam Vrishanav Moolam Shefascha. Here, the main two moolas for the Shukravah Srotas is Vrishanav. It is again a plural term where Vrishana refers to testicles. Clear? Here in the image you can see Vrishana is referring to testicles and Shefa refers to penis. Okay, so here in what point of view they are telling that these testicles and penis are the roots for the Shukravah Srotas is, the main production of the Shukra or the sperm will be taking place in the testis itself. Clear? So considering as the moola by storage point of view, and at the time of consumption, that is when they get conceived, right? Conception, Shukra, that is the semen is conducted or carried from the Vrishana to Shefa, that is the penis, by specific tube-like structures. So why the Shefa is considered as the moola by the conduction point of view. So here, this testicle is considered to be the moola of Shukravah Srotas in the origin point of view, because the main sperm production itself is taking place from the testicles, and this penis is considered as the moola of Shukravah Srotas in the conduction point of view, that is the Sanchara Sthana. Clear? So Udbhavasthana and Sancharasthana, considering these 2 points, they are considered to be the moola for Shukravaha Srotas. So that ends for the all the 7 dhatus moolas, and now moving on to 3 malas and their moolas, that is Mutravaha Srotas. Mutravahanam Srotasam Bastir Moolam Vangshanavcha. Here the Mutravaha Srotas moolas are Basti. Basti refers to, it can also, it actually in general it is referring to urinary bladder, but to understand it can include from all the whole excretory system can be considered as the Basti. Clear? So here Basti, for this point of view, we can understand that it is referring to urinary bladder, and Vankshana is referring to groin region. In the picture, it is very clear for you to locate where this groin region is, groin or the inguinal region. So why they have considered this as the Moolasthanas is because from the point of storage, this Basti is the Moolasthana, because from the kidney, there would be urine production taking place, and that would be carried through the ureter, and that gets collected in the urinary bladder. And once this urinary bladder extends, then the signal goes to the brain that it is completely filled and it has to be excreted, right? So till that, there would be collection of the urine taking place in that urinary bladder. So why this Basti is considered as the Basti or urinary bladder is considered as the moola of Mutravaha Srotas in the storage point of view. Clear? In the storage point of view, Basti is considered as the moola for Mutravaha Srotas, and Vankshana in the point of conduction. So this here in this region there will be ureters present, right? So that ureters will be carrying the urine. So that is the conduction, carriage part. So in that way, Vankshana in the conduction point of view and Basti or urinary bladder in the storage point of view, they are considered to be the moolas for Mutravaha Srotas. Next, moving on to Purishavaha Srotas. Mainly Purishavahanam Srotasam Pakvashayo Moolam Stula Gudamcha. So here Pakvashaya is referring to the large intestine because it has the proximal part for the production of the fecal matter and the distal part for the storage of fetal matter. So Udbhava or the origin point and the storage point of view, Pakvashaya is considered to be the mool of Purishavaha Srotas. And in the storage mainly takes, and the storage of all this Purusha mainly takes place in the Stula Guda or the rectum. And also it is excreted out through this Guda itself. So storage point of view and conduction point of view, we can consider that this Stula Guda is the mool of Purishavaha Srotas. Clear? So this in the origin point of view and storage point of view, we can consider the large intestine to be the mool of Purishavaha Srotas. And in the storage point of view and the conduction point of view, we can consider the Stula Guda to be the the Moolasthana for Purishavaha Srotas. And next is Svedavaha Srotas. Svedavahanam Srotasam Medo Moolam Loma Kupascha. So the two main areas mentioned as the moola for Svedavaha Srotas is Medho Dhatu and the Loma Kupa. Medho Dhatu we already know, and the Medho Dhatu Mala is nothing but the Svedas itself, the Sveda itself. That is, the Sveda gets formed from the Medho Dhatu, right? When the Dhatu is undergoing, like, metabolism, when the dhatu metabolism is taking place, there would be this upadhatus and the malas getting formed. So that mala which is getting formed out of Medho Dhatu is nothing but the Sveda. So in the origin point of view, this Medho Dhatu is considered to be the moola for Svedavaha Srotas. And Loma Kupa, if you see, they are the hair follicles. So from the sweat which is being produced, it should be carried out through this hair follicles only to the skin, and then it would be noticed over the skin. So from the conduction point of view, this Loma Kupa is considered to be the moola. So from the origin point of view, Medho Dhatu is considered to be the moola of Svedavaha Srotas. And from the conduction point of view, the Sveda is, Loma Kupa is considered to be the moola of Svedavaha Srotas. And next, moving on to Artavaha Srotas. This is something which is additionally mentioned by Shushrutaracharya, and it is not mentioned by Acharya Charaka. And it is stated as Artavavahe Dve. That is, two Artavaha Srotas are there. Tayor Moolam, two moolas are there for that. That is, Garbhashaya Artavavahinyascha Damanyaha. That is, there are mainly two moolas of Artavaha Srotas, and they are nothing but Garbhashaya. Garbhashaya refers to uterus, and Artavavahinyascha Damanyaha. That is, the arteries which are carrying this menstrual fluid. So these are considered to be the main two Sroto moolas of Artavaha Srotas. That is, and here this Garbhashaya is considered in the as the Moolasthana in keeping in the point of origin, and Artavahini, that is the arteries which are carrying the menstrual fluid, is considered as the moola in the conduction point of view. So in the point of origin, in the origin point of view, Garbhashaya is the moola for Artavaha Srotas because the production itself takes place in the uterus, and then in the point of conduction through which it is being carried and excreted out of the body, in that point of view, Artavaha Dhamanis are considered to be the moola of Artavaha Srotas. And now moving on to applicability of this Sroto moolas as such, the Moolasthana of Srotas is important area for proper functioning of the Srotas. Hence, treatment of any disease should include intervention of the betterment of the Srotas. Clear. So to plan the treatment, this understanding the Srotamoola is very important. And the cause of abnormality of Srotas and their manifestations first strikes the Moolasthana of the respective Srotas. Then the abnormality slowly spreads throughout the body. So why it is very important to understand the Moolasthana. And it is nothing but like Moolasthana can be the seat of metabolism, origin of pathological changes, and having the diagnostic importance, and thus it may be the main focus while planning the treatment. And as I had stated before also, this if root of the tree is destroyed, it will harm the whole tree. Likewise, if there is any harm to the Shrotomula, it will be damaging the whole Shrotus. So why it is very important to understand the Shrotomulas. So three malas were there and their respective Shrotomulas we have studied. Saptadhatus were there and their respective Shrotomulas we have studied, and there was Upadhatu Mula mentioned by Acharya Shushruta, that is Artava, and that also Shrotamula also we have studied. Next, moving on to Vriddhi Lakshana of Dhatu, Upadhatu and Mala. In this present class, we'll study regarding the Vriddhi Lakshana of Dhatus. So we have come across the term Vriddhi. Vriddhi refers to increased, and Lakshana refers to clinical features. Dhatu, we already know, right? That is, it is, so for a person to be called healthy, there should be samadosha. All the three doshas should be in the equilibrium state. Samadhatu. All the dhatus should be in the equilibrium state. And samadosha, samagnishcha. Even the agni should be functioning well in the body. And then the formation of the dhatu should also be happening properly in the body. Right? So then even the mala should also be, produced properly. It is stated that like a person to be called as healthy, there should be samadosha samagnischa samadhatu malakriyaha. The functioning of this formation of mala should also be happening properly. And prasanna atmendriya manaha swastha ityabhidiyate. Even their mental function should also be functioning well. Right? In the body, these dosha, dhatu, agni, and the mala, all the functions out well. And in the mental status, even their mental status should also be functioning well. Only then the person would be called as healthy. So the maintaining of the balanced state of this dosha, dhatu and mala is very important for the healthy status of the human body, and any disturbance of these either in the decreased form or increased form. See, they should be in the equilibrium state, samavastha. Even if there is light increase or light decrease from that a point of samavastha, then it would be resulting into various problems in the human body. So what problems will be caused by the disturbance of these different dhatus, if they're increased, will be studied in this class. So first, moving on to rasadhatu vriddhi lakshana, that is when the rasadhatu, so we already know that rasa, the main function of rasadhatu is prenana, right? That is, it provides satisfaction for it. I mean, for our body. So if it is increased in our body, what will be happening? You might think that, okay, there might be a lot of satisfaction if it is increased in our body. No, it is not so. Whatever their function is, it is not that their normal function will be increased. There will be certain abnormality resulting because of the increasing in this dhatus if they're not in the normal state. Okay, their actual functions will not be increased, will not only be like increased, but there will be additional problems caused because of the increase of these dhatus. So it is very important to understand this. And we have already studied the relation between the dhatus and the doshas, where they have stated that for this rasadhatu is in relation with which dosha? It is nothing but the kapha dosha, right? Because that is what we studied in the Ashriya Ashri Bhava. So why the Rasadhatu Vriddhi Lakshana, they have said that it is similar to Kapha Dosha Vriddhi Lakshana. And this Kapha Dosha Vriddhi Lakshana you have already studied in Sharira Kriya paper 1. And the shloka goes as Raso api shleshmavat. That is, Rasadhatu also shleshmavat is similar to Kapha Dosha. When you do the Anvaya, it is nothing but Vriddhaha Rasaha, the increased Rasadhatu, api shleshmavat kurute, is similar to kapha dosha vriddhi lakshana, because shleshma is the synonym for kapha dosha. So the lakshanas, the signs and symptoms, or the clinical features of the increased rasadhatu is similar to that of the kapha dosha increased features. So what are the kapha dosha increased features that we have studied in Sharira Kriya paper 1? Shleshmagni sadanam prasekalasya gauravam shvaitya shaitya shlathangatvam shvasakasati nidrataha. Right? I hope this has already been covered in the paper 1, so I'll not be dealing with this. And next, moving on to Raktadhatu Vriddhi Lakshana. So what happens when there is increased Raktadhatu in our body? There would be lot many diseases occurring because of the increased Raktadhatu. And the shloka goes as Raktam Visarpa Pliha Vidradhin Kushta Vatasra Pittasra Gulmopakusha Kamalaha Vyangagni Nasha Sammoha Raktatvak Netra Mutrataha. That is, Vriddaha Raktam, increased Raktadhatu will be resulting into Visarpa, that is herpes. Pliha. Pliha refers to spleen, and here it is referring to splenomegaly, that is the increase in size of the spleen because of certain abnormalities. Vidradhi. Vidradhin refers to abscess, that is pus-filled skin eruptions. Kushta is the term meaning any skin disease that occurs in our body. It shows us that there is some defect in the Raktadhatu. Vatasra refers to Asra or Asrak refers to Raktadhatu, right? So Vata associated with Rakta. So whenever Rakta gets aggravated in our body or increased in our body, it has the capacity to disturb the Vata dosha also. So when Vata gets associated with this Rakta Dushti, then that is termed as Vatasra, and this can be correlated to certain blood disorders or the gouty arthritis. And here the gouty arthritis means there would be certain joint pain, inflammation, redness of certain joints noticed in our body, and it mainly occurs from the first great toe of the foot. Okay, so it is one of the joint disorder basically. And Pittasra, that is Pitta associated with the Raktadhatu. That is in general it is called as Rakta Pitta, and that is referring to bleeding disorders. Gulma refers to certain, the general meaning of gulma is bush. Okay, so if there is any bush like growth happening in our body, that is termed as gulma, and it is referring to certain abdominal tumors. Upakusha refers to gingivitis, that is if there is any inflammation of the gums which are present over our teeth, if there is inflammation over those area, that is referring to upakusha. Because of that inflammation, there would be bleeding noticed in the gums also when you brush, right? That is referring to upakusha. And why that is happening is because there is some raktadushti in our body. Kamala refers to jaundice, that is yellowish discoloration of the skin, eyes, sclera, all that, right? So that is also because of certain dushti in the Raktadhatu. Vyanga is one among the kushta itself, Kshudra kushta. So Vyanga means melasma, that is certain hyperpigmentation noticed over the skin. Agni Nasha means digestive power would be decreased. Agni is referring to digestive power. Nasha refers to decrease. Sammoha refers to confusion. Raktatvak, netra mutrataha, and there would be reddish color of the skin, eyes, and urine noticed whenever there is increase in Raktadhatu. If you people don't mind, I'll be taking another 7 minutes extra so that I can complete this Vriddhi Lakshana. And so the main features are this herpes, Visarpa, Pliha, splenomegaly, Vidradhi, that is abscess, Kushta, that is all the skin condition, and Raktapitta or Pittasra, referring to bleeding disorders, Upakusha, referring to gingivitis, that is inflammation of the gums, and Gulma, referring to abdominal tumor, and melasma, referring to Vyanga, and gouty arthritis, referring to Vatasra or Vatrakta, and Kamala, referring to jaundice. So these pictures will depict, these pictures are depicting all the conditions when Raktadhatu is increased in our body. Next, moving on to Mamsadhatu Vriddhi Lakshana. That is what happens if Mamsadhatu is not functioning properly and there is increase in the Mamsadhatu in our body. So how do we get to know that there is increase in Mamsadhatu in our body? Is Mamsam Gandarbudha Granthi Gandorudara Vriddhitaha Kantadhishu Adhimamsam cha. That is, when there is Vriddham Mamsa, increased Mamsa Dhatu, it would be resulting into certain conditions like Ganda, referring to diseases affecting the neck. So one of the major diseases which is affecting the neck is goiter. There will be certain growth noticed on the neck because of hormonal changes of thyroid. So that is Ganda. And Arbuda. Arbuda refers to any malignant tumor. That is any division of independent division of the cells, multiple division of the cells will be happening. That is the malignant tumor. Granthi is referring to benign growth. That is, it is not spreading all of the body. It would be localized growth, which is not malignant. That is Granthi. Gandorudara Vriddhitaha. Gandorudara Vriddhitaha refers to increased fat deposition over the cheeks, thighs, and abdomen. If you imagine the sumo people who, involved in this wrestling. So they'll be having very, looseness of the cheeks will be there, right? And thighs would be, even the thighs, the muscles in the thigh region, abdominal region would be very loose, lax. So that shows that there is more deposition of this fat accumulated there. Clear? Next is Kantadishu Adhimamsamcha. Kanta refers to neck or throat. Adhimamsa, mamsa refers to muscle tissue, and adhi means adhika. That is, additional muscle growth will be noticed. That is nothing but if there is any extra muscle growth at neck and around the neck, that is that is considered to be the adhimamsa. So these are certain pictures depicting the mamsa dhatu. That is goiter, benign and the malignant growth, and the deposition of the body fat. And next, moving on to Medho Dhatu Vriddhi Lakshana. The Medho Dhatu Vriddhi Lakshana goes as Tadvan Medas Tatha Shramam Alpe Api Cheshtite Shwasam Spik Stanodhara Lambanam. That is, here, whenever there is increased, in the previous slides have actually given you the each word meaning. I hope you'll be getting this PDF of this PPT, and you can go through the word meaning of each term that is there in the shloka. When you do the anvaya of this, it is stated as Vriddham Medaha Tadvat. That is, whenever there is increased Medho Dhatu, Tadvat. Tadvat is referring to of that. So of that means of what? Right? Of the Mamsa Dhatu. Whatever the Mamsa Dhatu Vriddhi Lakshanas are told, that will also be involving the Medho Dhatu. Clear? Tatha alpe cheshtite api shramam. Alpa refers to little. Cheshtita refers to activities. Even if you do little activity also, you'll be feeling very tired. Okay, that is the main feature which is telling us that Medho Dhatu is increased in our body. And Shwasam. Shwasa refers to breathing difficulty. Okay, or dyspnea. So even with little amount of work, there would be difficulty in breathing noticed. Clear? And Svik Stanodara Lambanam. Svik refers to buttocks, Stana refers to breast region, Udara refers to abdomen. So there would be sagging noticed in these regions. That is, fat would be accumulated in this region, and there will be sagging noticed in this regions, which tells us that there is increase of this Medho Dhatu, as it is shown in this picture. If you see, there is sagging of the breast, there is sagging of the abdomen. That is Stana and Udara Lambana is noticed here. And next, moving on to Asthi Dhatu Vriddhi Lakshana. That is, whenever there is increased Asthi Dhatu, it would be resulting into Asthyadyastha Adhidantamscha. That is, whenever there is increase in the Hasti Dhatu, Adi Asti will be there. Adi, as I said before, it is referring to Adhika, additional Asti, extra bones growth will be noticed. Adi Dhanta, extra tooth will also be noticed. We know that they have already mentioned 32 tooth should be there in the human body. So if there is an additional tooth, that shows that there is Adhika Danta. And why that additional teeth will be noted is because there is Asti Dhatu Vriddhi in that person. Clear? So Vriddham Asti, whenever there is increased Asti Dhatu, there will be Adhyasti, that is extra bone growth. Adhidhantancha, there is extra tooth noticed or extra dentation noticed. These are the main two clinical features which tells us that there is like aggravation or increase of Asti Dhatu. Next, moving on to Majja Dhatu Vriddhi Lakshana. Majja Dhatu Vriddhi Lakshana is stated as Majja Netranga Gauravam Parvasu Stula Mulani Kuryat Krichran Arumshicha. That is, here Gaur Anga refers to parts, Gaurava refers to heaviness, Parva refers to joints, Stula refers to broad, and Mula refers to base. And it does, and the Arumshi refers to carbuncles. Okay, that is certain inflammation noticed over the joints. So whenever there is vriddhi of this Majja Dhatu, Vriddham Majja Netranga Gauravam, Netra, eyes. There is heaviness in the Anga and the Netra. In the eyes and the body parts, there would be heaviness noticed. And Parvasu Stula Mulani Krichrani Arumshicha Kuryat, and there would be formation of the reddish carbuncles, that is Arumshi, having broad base, Stula Mula, along the joints, along the Parva joints which are difficult to treat. Kruchrani refers to difficult to treat. That is, there would be certain formation of the reddish carbuncles over the joints and with the broad base. Those carbuncles will be having the broad base and they'll be located over the joints, and in general they are very difficult to treat. Why? Because there would be involvement of the Majjadhatu. So if you are noticing that there is some heaviness in your eyes and body parts, you can think that there is some problem in the Majjadhatu. Clear? And next is Shukra Dhatu Vriddhi Lakshana. Whenever there is increased Shukra Dhatu, the Lakshanas are Ati Stri Kamatam Vriddham Shukram Shukrashmarim Api. That is, whenever there is increased Shukra Dhatu, there are mainly two features noticed. That is, Ati Stri Kamatam. They'll be having lot of desire for the intercourse, and Shukrashmari. That is, there will be, Ashmari refers to stones. Okay, so there would be certain calculi is the medical term for stone. So there will be formation of prostatic calculi in the males specifically whenever the Shukra Dhatu is increased. So mainly two clinical features. Ati Stri Kamatam. Ati refers to excess again or increased. So they'll be having, Kama refers to desire. Stri refers to female. So they'll be having more desire towards the females. And then Shukra Ashmari, that is certain stones which are formed out of involving the semen. That is, prostatic calculi will be noticed in males. So these are the two features of Shukra Vriddhi Lakshana. So